Okay, everybody, I am so thrilled today because I am joined by Ruth Codd, aka Anya, in the Midnight Club, which is out now on Netflix. We're going to be talking spoilers about the show, so make sure you watch the whole show first before you watch this interview. Ruth, how you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me. I still find it so weird. They're like, she's in a show on Netflix that's out now.
Yeah, this must be surreal for you, and especially because Netflix puts you right in the public eye of like everybody internationally. So it's got to be crazy this week for you, right?
Oh well, I don't have that much star power. Like, no one really knows. I'm still very much able to go to the supermarket. I was in an airport yesterday and I was like, maybe someone might, recognize. No.
Talk to me in 2 weeks because that's going to change. So what's interesting though is you do have a little history with fame. So you used to be a former TikTok star, and I'm wondering talk to me about the transition. Like, what made you want to kind of leave that and go more into acting?
Oh God. Well, I'd use the term fame very loosely. During the pandemic, I was unemployed. I had no money. Moved back with my parents. I mean, like everyone, I was bored out of my brains. So I started a TikTok, and like a lot of things in my life, just by accident, it blew up. So I got a message from Engine Casting from Annie and Morgan, and they said, "Have you ever acted before?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "Well, I did actually. That's a lie. I did play Villager number 4 in my school play." But they sent me the audition. They were like, "Give it a go," and I did, expecting for them to never ever get back to me. I was like, that's going to be used as blackmail, that footage. And I got it, and here I am.
So was that your first audition ever? Like, is it the first time you're doing anything like that?
Yeah, that was my first ever audition. You just they give you the script. My mom did kind of turn into Steven Spielberg when we were doing. I'd get like a word wrong. She's like, "No, take it back." So it took me ages to do the audition because it took me ages to learn how to memorize the lines. So yeah, that was my first ever audition, and that's kind of how you audition now. Because I always thought auditions were like you go into a room with loads of really judgmental people and they like look at you. And I've yet to experience that. Can't wait. So
No, yeah, you definitely got the better gig with the Zoom auditions for sure. And also, did you know what you were auditioning for? Like, did you know it was gonna be this Mike Flanagan big Netflix project? Like, did you already have pressure even going into the audition like that?
I mean, no pressure, like, because I've nothing to lose. I knew who Mike Flanagan was, obviously, because I love horror. I love like Hill Houses. Like, I loved Hill Houses so much.
Yeah.
So I actually didn't, the name didn't ring a bell with me. And I actually only looked him up after I'd sent it in. And then I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, oh, shit.
Oh my God. So in that though, knowing who it is, knowing you're a fan of his work, and then you're talking about the auditioning, but also for people who probably are shocked hearing this right now that this is your first acting role. So what was that like being on set, being on this big set and your first time jumping into this thing? Was that terrifying?
No, I mean, I was in this wonderful position where I'd nothing to lose. And I'm like, if they fire me, they still have to pay me. So it's like,
I love that. You're very smart. Now, I'm going to jump into this story now and this character of Anya, which is just amazing character. It was my favorite character on the show. So when you were first reading the script, though, what did you read about Anya that you definitely knew in your head you wanted to get down right? Like, what were you like lasered in on about her?
I, even during, for the audition, it was the scene in episode 2 where she has a go to Lanka for pitying Spence and giving him the look. And I immediately related to that straight away, because the worst thing about having my injury at 15 was people treated me differently, and they pit, and I hated it. And I hate, and it was that there's a look. They don't have to say anything, but there's a look.
Mm.
So I relate a lot to Anya's like to how just disappointed she is, and how angry it makes her. You know, a lot like Anya, I used to take it out on my family too. So I understood immediately I understood where she was coming from.
Yeah, and I totally love that point you made about that look and that feeling of just pity people get. And it's interesting too, because you brought up with that episode 2, the two Danas, which is a great episode, and we get to see Anya do her story. Now, with Prime Dana and Dana 2, did you play them as just extreme versions of Anya, like opposite versions? And how challenging was it to have your own self as a scene partner?
Oh, I mean, it was I think I'd been acting 4 days when we started to film that. And I was like, I walked in one day, I was like, this is a lot. But so what they do is, so there's me, and then I'll have a body double, Elise. So Elise will say the lines, and for, say, if I'm Dana 1, she'll say the lines for Dana 2. And she's such a brilliant actress that it gave me something to bounce off of. So she made it so easy for me. And as well, you'd think kind of they'd film it in a way that you're Dana 1 for the day, and then the next day you're Dana 2, going like back and forth. So my tiny little brain was, there was the little monkey on it was like, eject.
I love that. So
yeah.
Did you have more fun playing Dana 1 or Dana 2?
Dana 2 is a psychopath. So I had so much fun, like I wanted to make them both different because they're two aspects of her personality. So I wanted to make them both different, but it was so much fun. I had so much fun with Elise, because I would have been lost. There would not have been an episode 2. They would have just been like, it's going straight to episode 3 without her. So you have her to thank for that episode.
That's amazing. So yeah, and that episode is awesome episode. And also too, when we first meet Anya, you know, she's tough. She's very cold at first. She's got standoffish part about her, but you do a great job at also, there's always like this underlying likability, humanity about her. And that's a props to your portrayal of her. Was there a conscious effort for you though, not to go too far at first with like kind of the harshness Anya was giving? Like, was there a sweet spot you had to find?
No, I think the further you take it, I mean, she is a teenager. She's a teenage girl, and as we all know, teenage girls are ruthless. So, no, I never was conscious about making her anyway likable the first 2 episodes, because she's not. She's mean, and I took it as far as I could, because yes, she's the type of person that has, I think, at the very heart, she's a good heart, and it's coming from a place of where she wants to protect her friends. They're all in the hospice, and she doesn't want them to get there. You know, it takes a long time to accept something like that, and she doesn't want to have false hope. But it doesn't. It's like real life. It doesn't always come across that people are coming from a good place, and I think it takes a couple of episodes to realize, oh, she was coming from a good place. She does have a heart. But you know, it's like real life, where sometimes it might take you a while to warm up to someone and to realize they're not, you know, a total dickhead.
Yeah, I was like, well, what is she gonna say? I love that build up. So, but in that journey of Anya though, and as we see in her arc, going back to episode at the end there, episode 2 with the two Danas, what do you think Anya was trying to reveal to the rest of the club about herself, whether it was consciously or subconsciously at that point with that story?
I think she, in a way, that whole story is probably about her wishing she had a do-over, about everything. She didn't realize what she had when she had it, and she kind of threw it all away. And I'm, you know, with the episode, I'm allowed spoilers, am I?
Oh, all spoilers.
Yeah.
Let's go. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we've that moment with Alonka in 5 where where she reveals that she did actually,
Mhm.
Aaron's death was her fault. And so I think a lot of the two Danas was revealing it about herself. But again, because it's Anya, she won't ever say it directly. She'll kind of leave them wondering, like, what parts of that story were real, what parts weren't. She'll always kind of leave it open to interpretation.
Yeah, I love that answer. That's great. And yeah, you're right too, because a lot of the show too, you're trying to figure out what's real, what's happening, or where we even are. And I even felt that my favorite episode, I'm not just saying this, but episode 7, Anya, heartbreaking. But I'm wondering, because I was read discussions about the episode, and people are already kind of debating like where we actually are in that episode. Some people saying, I saw some people saying purgatory, but and then most people were saying, no, it was this coma dream leading to her hearing the club outside her door. How did you read that? Where exactly we were at a given time in that episode?
Well, again, that's the beautiful thing about Mike's work, is that it's always open to interpretation. And that's the thing about like art. This is gonna make me sound like such like one of those artistic arseholes, but that's like the thing art is that the beauty of it is never knowing the answer, really. It's always just your interpretation of it. And my interpretation of it is, that she's in the coma, and she's having, it's really dark, because even in her dream life where everything works out, she's still miserable.
Yeah, right.
It's sad, because I feel like she thinks she doesn't almost deserve to be happy. And then her friends come and they're like, no, you do deserve to be happy, and this is how it'd work out.
Yeah, for sure. And that's, I guess, what makes it even more heartbreaking. And I think also too, my favorite performance you had in this show was in this episode when Anya is on the phone with Rhett. So blown away by that level of just passion you put in there, anger, sadness. How did you get to that place as an actress? Was that also wild for you? Was that a moment you kind of just lose yourself?
It's weird, because you can prepare as much as you want, and then on the day everything goes out the window. You can I just, as an actress, I'll never put pressure on myself to cry or to feel a certain thing. I'll just do it on the day, and try my best with it. And I mean, yeah, I related a lot. There's something that happened in my life that it made that scene in particular did make me. I related to it a lot, and of someone not really wanting to know you anymore, and there was a lot of. I think I didn't mean to on the day, but I think there was a lot of like anger in the pit of my stomach that I down the phone, I was like not talking to Red, I was like talking to someone else.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Yeah, because I'm like, it was more impressive too that you were doing it on the phone. So yeah, and that makes sense. So you felt like it was coming somewhere from within. There was a connection to your soul in that.
There's a funny story about that, actually. The AD, Mark, the first AD, so I didn't have Daniel on the other end of the phone. I had the AD Mark in the room reading Daniel's lines.
Okay.
And anyone who knows Mark, he's the most deadpan human. He's probably one of the funniest people I've ever met, but like he's just monotone. And he was like, it's kind of meant to be dramatic, getting into it. And he was there and he was like, Anya, please, Anya. And I'm like, fucking hell, Mark. I'm like, give me something to work with.
I love that. Yeah. So look, even more props to you. You could do it in any situation. Awesome. And then I'm also wondering too, was there any version of the script that didn't have Anya dying, or at least not dying in this specific episode?
Well, I only got the kind of the final drafts of the script, but episode 7 was always kind of that. I don't know if the earlier versions were different, but the versions I got, they were all very similar. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. I'm just trying to reach anywhere here where she's somehow still alive in any form. But that's the thing too, is there is that moment we still get, even though we lose Anya after episode 7, there's this big moment with the fixed ballerina statue. So how did you interpret that whole thing? Is that a sign from Anya, I'm guessing, to Alanka? How did you see that?
Yeah, I think it's, you know, even when people die, they're never really gone. You always have the memories of them, and regardless of what you believe in, if there's an afterlife or if there's anything, I think it was this thing of, even though Anya's not physically there anymore, she'll live on, through the stories, um, through Alanka's memories. No one's ever, I think, truly gone, and their energy kind of, stays around. So I don't know how to interpret this the statue. I mean, I hope for my sake that I'm back, but I don't know. No one will tell me anything.
No, but I love that. That's beautiful how you talk about that too. That makes sense. And it's interesting too. Not only do you play Anya here, I think the fun thing for you must have been getting to play other characters and other people's stories in the club. So was there any characters you particularly love playing, or any fun experience on set doing that?
I mean, I loved the two Danas. Was so much fun to film with the Lise, and I loved playing Dana too. Just because I was there and I was like, I'm taking it too far. I'm doing. And Mike was just like behind the camera, and he was like, "Yeah, go again."
I love it. So, everyone here is already falling in love with you from this show, but I think what's really exciting to know is it's already been announced that you're going to be back in a Flanagan Netflix project, Fall of the House of Usher. So is there any tease, or is it going to be crazy? Anything you can give us about it?
All I can say about that show is that it is a bloodbath. It is like horror to the extreme. If you love, and it still has all the good things about a Mike Flanagan show, but I think to date it is going to be his scariest, most gruesome show. I cannot wait for it to come out because I want to watch it.
Oh, that's amazing. So everybody get excited for that, for Ruth to be in that. But in the meantime, keep watching The Midnight Club on Netflix. Watch Ruth absolutely crush it. Tell your friends about it, family, you name it. Ruth, thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope to talk to you in the future.
Oh, thank you. That was a fun interview. Thanks so much for having me.